Welcome back, it's me, Lou. I'm here for another action figure unboxing and review. And for McFarlane Toys and DC Direct, we are featuring Page Puncher's Batman as he appears in the Black Adam exclusive comic book that's included with this. Alright, so this is a very stylized version of Batman. If you read comic books and you're familiar with the artist Lee Bermejo, this is a very much Bermejo-inspired design. The color scheme for the Black Adam action figures for Page Punchers, they're a little bit more on the earthier, warm tones in terms of the color scheme. Like if you saw this figure in person, the gray they're using is a little bit more on like the warmer side. Kind of has a tiny hint of green and a tiny hint of brown in the gray areas. The black is a very matted kind of black. So visually, this is a very like grim, dark version of Batman, and with Lee Bermejo's design, it's kind of covered with that stitched panel lining and with the heavy armor pieces. On the back of the box, we have the cover to the exclusive comic book written by Scott and with artwork by Kirkham and Prianto. And then we have the Lee Bermejo cover right here. And then we have a nice photo of Batman. All right, let's get this guy out. Alright, so this comes with the exclusive comic book right here. It's in a bag, trading card, and you also get the display base. First impressions of this Batman. It's really cool. I'm digging this a lot. I think the only thing that kind of bothers me just a teeny bit is the color scheme. The gray they're using, like I mentioned earlier, it's a little bit on the like warmer side with some earth tones. So it has like a hint of green, a hint of brown in it. It's not like a completely solid gray. So depending on the light you're using, this might come off a little bit kind of odd. But it's nonetheless, I think it's an amazing looking figure. Sculpting and details, it's amazing. I love the utility belt. That really caught my eye. The Batarang is kind of much more in line with like, it's similar to the live action Christian Bale, Christopher Nolan, Dark Knight Batarang. The head's really well done. It looks like he has the shorter horns. The cape is crazy too, because this figure really feels like they brought to life the artwork of artist Lee Bermejo. If you've ever seen his artwork, he has a lot of like detail and minutia in the way he draws and illustrates. He'll draw every little stitch in the costume. He'll draw every little piece of armor, every little tiny wrinkle and fold. And just the way this is done, it looks like the sculptor really took the time to emulate, the two-dimensional drawing and artwork of artist Lee Bermejo. So this is really, really nice. And if you're a comic book reader and you happen to like the artwork of Lee Bermejo, one comic book I'd recommend is, I think it was a miniseries, but it's probably collected in trade paperback form by now, or graphic novel form. He did a Lex Luthor miniseries with writer Brian Azzarello that I remember liking a lot way back when. It's a really interesting take on Lex Luthor. It kind of approaches Luthor from his point of view, where Luthor kind of envisions himself as the hero and protector of Earth. He doesn't, for him, Superman's kind of like, an alien. And I think it's always bothered Luthor that You know, he's not the one that could like go front and center when it comes to Earth's defense and protection and being its role model. All right, so yeah, I'm really excited to check this out. The gray does bother me a little bit. On video and what you're seeing right now, it might look like more like a natural gray, but in person, I mean, you have to handle this figure in person to see what I'm talking about. The gray here, it's kind of very off. It's not like a pure gray. It does kind of have a tiny hint of like brown and green to it. But this is a great, really well sculpted figure. It's a very unique take on the character, and they do an excellent job of emulating the art style of, like I mentioned, Lee Bermejo. You know, it's like, it's amazing that they took his 2D imagery and translated it into this like three-dimensional actual physical figure. And, you know, just looking at it, it's very impressive. This is something I found at my local Target. I'm not sure if Page Punchers is exclusive to Target, because I don't think I've seen these anywhere else. And this figure came out a little bit ago. It's just now that I'm getting around to reviewing it. It's been sitting in my review pile for a while. So, I mean, just look at that. That's friggin' amazing. Really well done. Visually, I think this is one of the more stunning Batmans we've gotten. Which says a lot, because, you know, it seems like every McFarlane Batman's always really well crafted, well done. One thing this figure reminds me of in its design, for whatever reason, is the McFarlane designed Batman, which I actually have right here. I don't know what it is with this figure, but there's something about this figure that kind of captures the same type of aesthetic as this one, slightly. It might just be me, though. But here again, this will give you an idea of the differences in the grays. Like, for the most part, a lot of the Batman figures that we've gotten before that are gray kind of resemble slightly this. You know, it might vary depending on the figure. Maybe it might be a darker shade or lighter gray, but this is a very gray color. And then when you look at the Page Punchers, you can kind of see what I'm talking about. It's not like a pure gray. It's kind of off by a little. You know, it has a hint of green, a little tiny hint of brown. This is definitely, I think, one of the best Batman utility belts I've seen on one of the McFarlane figures. This is great. The sculpting is amazing. I love Batman's look. He's slightly gritting his teeth. His brows kind of furl just a little bit. I love the shapes of his eyes. He has the shorter horns. The sculpting on his helmet's nice. I like the design, how his temple is kind of a separate piece than the rest of his head. It looks kind of unique like that. Again, wonderful details on the sculpting on the cape. Like I said, they try to capture every little tiny bit of detail and every wrinkle and fold that is how this would be portrayed in the comic books. You know, you kind of have that very like thin panel lining and trim running down the cape. They recreate all the stitching on the body armor and all the excessive folds and wrinkles. I love the Batman emblem. It looks really cool. And the break at the abdomen, even though it does that kind of weird, like, jagged zigzag kind of deal, I don't mind it so much because it's actually following the contours of the panel armor. So I have no problem with that whatsoever. Again, wonderful detail on the utility belt. I think this is one of the best utility belts I've seen on a Batman figure. It's great. It looks very functional. You know, you have the carabiner right there. You have, looks like mace or maybe that's a flashlight. There's even a ring on the back. Wow, that's odd. That's pretty cool too, because I think, if my eyes aren't fooling me, because it might be my lighting, but it looks like they took the time out to actually color the ring silver, which is ridiculous because it's underneath the cape. Same with the carabiner right here. That's painted silver also. it's a very kind of like real world take on Batman's body armor. You know, it's not like heavy metal plating. It's more like stitched padding. Nice knee pads, cool boots. They're almost like motorcycle boots. I dig that. The cape is kind of, it's neutral to a point. It kind of flows out off to its left. And on its right, it kind of furls in like this. Which I don't mind it too much. You know, generally I prefer a much more neutral cape. But in this sense, I think for me it's forgivable. Just because it's really trying really hard to emulate the look of the artist. But yeah, I think visually, stunning figure. Not disappointed in this figure at all visually. I think it's amazing. Like I said, the only thing that bothers me is just the gray. You know, it's a little bit on the green side. In terms of his articulation, Batman's head rotates. Does he look down? Doesn't look down. Does he look up? He does look up a little bit. Just a tad bit. His arms rotate. And then they hit the cape. As you notice, the shoulder piece up here is part of the arm, so that's nice. His arms do go out, but unfortunately, due to the design of the armor and the cape, it's not going to go out fully. You know, this piece kind of collides with the cape and the upper shoulder. He does have a bicep swivel, double pinned elbows, very stock, very standard for McFarlane figure. Wrist articulation, and they've been doing such a better job of hiding the ball joint on the wrists. You know, I really applaud McFarlane for that. The cut mid-torso is kind of cleverly hidden because of the shape of the abdomen protective armor right there. You know, even though it's kind of like doing that zigzag kind of deal, at least it's conforming to the shape of the armor. And that allows you to, I think should allow you to rotate. Mine's just a little bit stiff. Does he crunch forward? Not that much. Arching back. Kicks outward. Double pin knees. Yeah, everything's very stock standard for the articulation. Wonderful Batman. It's great. I dig this figure a lot. It's definitely, I think, one of my favorite Batmans right now. You know, the only thing is, like I said, I think it's just a color scheme. I think if they had a much more neutral gray as opposed to this earth tone gray, I think I'd like this figure even a lot more. So yeah, look at that. That's freaking awesome. You know, you'd be hard-pressed to find a Batman this cool. That is amazing. Beautiful, really well done figure. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how do I rate this guy? First thought, it's going to be sound a little bit generous, but I think anywhere between an 8.5 to a 9. I think this figure is really that well done. I love the head a lot. I love this look. It's a kind of older, maybe like mid-40s Batman. He's kind of grittier, has some stubble. And it's just awesome. It's a very serious take on the character, and I think it's awesome. Beautiful, beautiful figure. Height-wise, I forgot to mention that. This guy comes in at about 7 1/4, a little bit higher with the horns. And let's do another side-by-side comparison with the McFarlane one. So this is gold label McFarlane design Batman. And I'll just give you an idea in terms of the difference of the color scheme. You know, this is the much more traditional gray and dark gray against the black, and you really see the noticeable difference in the body armor. How it's kind of like that grayish green or greenish gray, depending how you look at it. Would love to see a repaint of this guy in much more traditional colors. But yeah, overall, fantastic figure. Alright, so let's wrap this video up. Once again, my name is Lou. If you are new to my channel, welcome. If you are a returning viewer, subscriber, thank you so much for your continued support. I greatly appreciate it. So, until the next video, be safe, take care of yourself, buy lots of toys, and most importantly, be happy. And I'll see you at the next one. Alright, later.